You know, I was looking through the intro of Technology and Services Marketing 2025, and it really struck me how front and center technology is for all these managers and business
Yeah,
owners.
absolutely.
It's not just a tool anymore, it's completely reshaping the way they're thinking about their whole operations.
It really is the invisible hand now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Driving so many business decisions. And it's not a gradual shift, it's accelerating so quickly,
Right.
especially when you think about how services are designed and delivered.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be digging into today. We've got some really fascinating material here, going deep on everything from industrial revolutions to the nitty-gritty of service quality, all through this lens of how technology is disrupting services marketing.
Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah. So if you're out there trying to keep up with all these changes and you want more than just a surface level understanding, well, you're in the right place. We're on the hunt for those aha moments, those unexpected connections, those clear takeaways that really cut through all the noise.
Absolutely. We're not just going to be summarizing, we're going to be really thinking about how all these different pieces connect, synthesizing.
Yeah.
We want to understand how technology is fundamentally changing not just the design of services, but how they get to you, the customer, the entire experience, really. We'll be looking at the fourth and fifth industrial revolutions, the overall impact of technology on organizations, employees, and of course you, the customer. And underpinning all of this is that all-important question of service quality in this increasingly digital age.
Okay, so let's set the stage with the big picture. These industrial revolutions. The book starts off talking about the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR, really being all about automation and efficiency. So, beyond the buzzwords, what does that actually look like in the real world?
Well, think of 4IR as the merging of our physical world, digital, and even biological worlds. It's fueled by things you're probably hearing a lot about: high-speed internet, the rise of AI, and automation, big data, cloud computing, all converging. The focus is really on using these technologies to streamline processes, to boost productivity, and achieve greater efficiency across a whole range of industries. It's really remarkable.
It is.
And it's interesting to think about the numbers. Some estimates suggest that 4IR technologies could contribute trillions to the global economy in the coming years.
Wow.
And a big chunk of that impact is going to be in the service sector through things like optimized logistics and personalized customer interactions.
And the book specifically mentions South Africa and how 4IR is being linked to government initiatives there to make a difference, to have that societal impact.
That's a really important point. In South Africa, 4IR isn't seen just as an economic driver. There's a real emphasis on leveraging these advances to address societal issues, to create new job opportunities for the workforce of the future, and ultimately improves the lives of everyday consumers. It's technology with a purpose, going beyond just the economic gains.
Right. So 4IR is this huge wave of automation. But then the discussion moves on to the fifth industrial revolution, 5IR.
Yeah.
So how does that build on or differ from 4IR?
Well, 5IR takes that foundation of 4IR and adds in this critical human-centric element. It's not just about automating tasks. It's about creating a more collaborative and harmonious relationship between humans and machines.
Interesting.
Yeah, instead of machines replacing people, it's about machines working alongside them. And key to that is hyper-personalization and customized experiences. Think services tailored to your specific needs in real time. There's also a strong emphasis on ethical AI development and use, ensuring fairness and transparency. And crucially, sustainability and green technologies are at the heart of the 5IR vision.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners. How do these big changes actually play out in the world of services marketing?
Yeah.
It's not just factories and robots on assembly lines, is it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The impact is far-reaching. With 4IR, you see things like significantly enhanced customer experiences through streamlined and automated service delivery. Think about how easy it is now to order groceries online and have them delivered right to your doorstep. 5IR then takes that to the next level with hyper-personalization and predictive marketing.
Wow.
Imagine services that anticipate your needs almost before you even know you have them.
That's a little scary, but also pretty cool.
It is, isn't it? And you also see greater cost efficiency through automation. But with 5IR, there's this growing focus on ethical and sustainable marketing practices, particularly around data privacy and protection. And then there's this whole idea of humans and AI actually collaborating to deliver services. It opens up so many possibilities for more intuitive and responsive interactions.
So technology is this powerful force, but let's zoom in on the human element. How does implementing technology affect the different players involved? the organizations, the employees, and of course, the customers.
Well, it all starts with the organization, right? Their motivations for implementing technology are often interconnected. They might want to reduce costs, simplify work for their employees, and increase overall productivity.
Right.
The idea is that if you make things better internally, it's going to lead to a better experience for the customer, a happier customer.
Makes sense. And the book has some nice, down-to-earth examples of this in action. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So think about an optometrist's office.
Okay.
They might use a database system to categorize their patients based on their information, things like past prescriptions, specific eye conditions, you know. Then they can send targeted reminders for checkups or even suggest new products that might be relevant to the patient's needs.
Yeah.
Much more efficient service and potentially happier patients. Another example is the online appointment booking system.
Uh-huh.
Now, that's something that's become really common. Streamlines everything for both the practice and the patient. No more phone tag, book at any time, day or night.
So convenient. And then there's the design of the service itself. How is technology actually changing how services are structured and delivered?
Well, one thing we're seeing more and more of is a move towards remote interactions in service design.
Yeah.
You, as a consumer, increasingly expect to engage with services from anywhere at any time.
From the couch at 2 in the morning in our pajamas.
Exactly. And with that comes this need for greater security,
Hmm.
especially around things like verifying identity and preventing fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing a rise in technologies like biometrics,
Mm-hmm.
fingerprint scanning, facial recognition, all being used for authentication. A good example of this, even though it's in a slightly different context, is Bitcoin and its two-factor authentication.
Right.
It really highlights that need for enhanced security measures in this new digital world. It builds trust.
Now let's think about the employees. Because there's often this concern, maybe even a fear, that technology is just going to replace jobs or make the remaining ones more demanding and stressful.
Yeah.
What does the book say about that?
Well, interestingly, the book paints a more optimistic picture. It talks about how technology can actually boost employee productivity, motivation, and even job satisfaction. Think about it. If you take away the repetitive manual tasks through automation, that frees up employees to focus on more engaging and creative work.
Right, the stuff humans are good at.
Exactly. Problem solving, interpersonal communication, those things that really require that human touch. A good example is a medical aid app,
Okay.
like Discovery's app. It simplifies administrative tasks for both the members and the staff.
Streamlines the process.
Absolutely. Or online shopping apps. They make the whole purchasing process so much smoother, reducing the workload on customer service agents. And this applies to internal tools and processes within companies as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if the technology handles the routine stuff, employees can focus on the things that add more value.
Exactly.
Now, how does all of this simplify things for us, the customers? Because that's often the most direct impact, right?
That's where you really feel it. Technology has definitely made so many activities much easier and more convenient for customers. Think about a Mac app that uses AI to personalize your experience and streamline your workflow.
Okay.
The book actually uses that as an example. And then there's the huge popularity of online shopping platforms
Uh-huh.
like Shein or Temu. We actually included a link to an article about that.
I saw that.
Yeah, it just underscores how easy and accessible technology has made shopping for consumers.
Okay. So we've seen how technology affects the organizations, their employees, and the customers. But the book also talks about the very human decision of adopting these new tech-driven services.
Right.
Because it's not just about building the technology, people have to actually want to use it.
That's a really important point. It emphasizes that choosing to use a new technology isn't a purely rational decision. There are so many psychological and social factors involved. And that's where models like the Technology Readiness Index, or TRI, become valuable.
Okay, let's unpack this TRI. What does it tell us about someone's likelihood of embracing a new technology or service?
Well, the TRI essentially tries to quantify a person's inclination to use new technologies by looking at both positive and negative feelings and beliefs.
Okay.
So on the positive side, you've got optimism, how much they believe in the benefits of technology, and innovativeness,
Yeah.
how much they enjoy being early adopters. And then on the negative side, you've got discomfort with technology, how anxious or overwhelmed they feel by new systems, and distrust, how much they worry about the potential downsides of technology. Understanding where a particular group of customers sits on these dimensions is crucial for businesses when they're rolling out new tech-based offerings.
Got it. So there's another model mentioned in the book, the technology acceptance model, or TAM.
Right.
How does that differ from the TRI?
So while the TRI gives you this big picture view of someone's readiness for technology, CAM focuses more specifically on their intention to use a specific technology or service. It revolves around two main perceptions: perceived functionality.
Okay.
That's basically your belief that the technology will actually help you achieve what you want to do, that it will perform the tasks effectively. And then there's perceived usefulness, which is more about your perception of how much effort is required to use the technology.
Uh-huh.
Will it actually make your life easier?
Right.
So if you believe a technology is both effective and relatively easy to use, you're much more likely to adopt it. So perceived functionality is like saying, this app can do what I need it to do, while perceived usefulness is more like, this app will make my life easier when I do what I need to do.
I like that. That's a good distinction.
Yeah.
The book briefly mentions the theory of planned behavior, too.
Right.
How does that fit into this whole picture of technology adoption?
It's particularly relevant for those services that combine both technology and human interaction elements,
Okay.
because it suggests that your intention to use a service is influenced by three things: your attitude towards the behavior, do you see it as positive or negative, subjective norms.
Mm-hmm.
What do the people around you think you should do?
Mm-hmm.
And perceived behavioral control, how confident are you that you can actually perform the behavior?
Mm.
So all these factors can play a role. For example, let's say all your friends are raving about a new food delivery app.
Okay.
That's the subjective norm, and you find the app easy to use.
Uh-huh.
That's your perceived behavioral control.
Right.
You're more likely to use it, especially if you generally like the idea of ordering food online. That's your attitude.
Now let's talk about a really obvious way that technology shows up in the world of services. Self-service technologies, or SSTs, we see them everywhere. ATMs, online checkouts.
Oh yeah, everywhere.
So what's the basic definition of an SST?
Well, SSTs are technologies that let you, the customer, access and use services without directly interacting with a human employee.
Okay.
So you can use an ATM to get cash, manage your bank account online, or use a self-checkout at the grocery store.
And from the company's perspective, what are the main benefits of these SSTs?
Well, there are a few key advantages. Firstly, it's all about convenience for the customer, which, in theory, should lead to greater satisfaction and loyalty.
Right.
Then there's the potential for significant cost savings. You don't need as many employees. And it allows businesses to offer their services 204/7. And often SSTs can actually deliver those services faster and more efficiently.
Okay, so what about us, the customers? What are the pros and cons of dealing with SSTs?
Well, there are definitely some great benefits for customers. You often have access to more customized services because digital interfaces allow for a lot of personalization.
Yeah.
SSTs are usually designed to be pretty user-friendly,
Okay.
and they're available in convenient locations, online. You can also tailor the service experience using digital tools.
Okay.
You have that added convenience. You feel a sense of control over your transactions.
Right.
But of course, there are drawbacks.
Yeah.
SSTs typically can't handle those unusual questions that fall outside their programming. And for some people, they miss that human interaction.
The personal touch.
Exactly. And then there's that frustration when the technology fails.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing worse than a glitching self-checkout.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
So the book then moves on to highlight some specific technologies and how they're affecting services. It starts by drawing a contrast between older, what it calls non-smart technologies, and the more advanced systems we see today.
That comparison really highlights how far we've come.
Mm.
Think about early technologies like ticket vending machines, parking meters, even elevators.
Right.
They were automating tasks, but they didn't have the intelligence, the connectivity, the capabilities of modern technologies. They did their job, but that was about it.
So let's dive into some of these smart technologies, starting with the big one, artificial intelligence, AI.
Yeah.
It feels like it's everywhere now. So how does the book define it in the context of services?
It defines it as technology that can essentially think and behave like humans without being explicitly programmed for every situation.
Right.
It uses algorithms, complex sets of instructions to learn from vast amounts of data, and that includes consumer behavior to make predictions and automate tasks. The impact on the service industry is huge, especially through things like service robots. And we're already seeing examples like Grubhub using robots for delivery in some areas.
Wow, it's really happening. And the book talks about anthropomorphization in relation to AI. What does that mean?
It's basically that human tendency to give human-like qualities to non-human things.
Okay.
Our pets, our cars, and now our AI devices and robots.
Right.
In the world of services, that can be good and bad. If AI feels more natural and friendly, it can enhance the customer experience,
Yep.
but it can also lead to customers having unrealistic expectations.
Right. It's not a human after all.
Exactly.
Does the book mention any downsides or challenges with using AI?
Yeah, it highlights a few potential drawbacks.
Mm.
There's a general distrust that some people have towards AI, concerns about job displacement,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes the perception that AI systems can overcomplicate things rather than simplifying them.
Okay.
And of course, there's always the risk of malfunction or error.
Right, because no technology is perfect. So next up is big data. What's the key takeaway there for services marketing?
Well, big data is essentially the massive amount of data that organizations collect, whether it's structured like spreadsheets, semi-structured like customer reviews, or unstructured like social media posts. They analyze it all to gain insights into their customers.
Okay.
And what makes it big isn't just the sheer volume, it's also the complexity. It's often described by the 5 V's: volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value.
I've heard of that.
So for services, big data offers incredible insights for things like personalized marketing, tailoring service offerings to specific customer segments, and just overall improving the service delivery experience.
Yeah.
You're moving beyond mass marketing to individual experiences.
Okay. Then there's connectable technologies,
Mm.
and the book specifically mentions the Internet of Things, or IoT. How is that vast network of devices changing the services we use?
Well, the IoT is all about creating this network where physical devices, sensors, appliances, wearables, even vehicles are connected to the internet and can communicate with each other,
Right.
sharing data in real time. And in services, this has huge implications. Think about wearable health trackers that can alert doctors to potential problems.
Okay.
That's IoT, enabling remote patient monitoring and proactive care.
Yep.
Or imagine smart devices in hotels that adjust the room to your liking. That's the IoT enabling more personalized guest experiences.
It's everywhere.
It really is.
The book also talks about bots and chatbots.
Yes.
What roles do they play in the modern service landscape?
Well, robots, like the robot waiters they have in Tokyo, can actually provide direct physical assistance in service environments.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. It enhances accessibility and efficiency. Chatbots are a bit different. They're those software programs that simulate human conversation.
Yeah, I've definitely encountered those.
Oh, I'm sure. You've probably interacted with them on a website or a customer service app. They're great for answering frequently asked questions, troubleshooting basic issues, and just generally streamlining processes. Like the book mentions how some retail stores use chatbots to make applying for accounts much easier.
Right. So last but not least, there's our own personal devices.
Yes.
Our smartphones, our wearables. How are those impacting service delivery?
Well, our personal devices have become absolutely essential to how we access and interact with services.
Couldn't live without them.
Right. Our smartphones and wearables give us this incredibly convenient interface for all sorts of interactions, from making contactless payments to getting real-time information and personalized updates. They're a powerful service delivery channel right in our pockets and on our wrists.
Okay, so with all this technology in the mix, the discussion naturally turns to service quality.
Yeah.
And the book brings in some insights from another chapter specifically on that topic. So what's the fundamental understanding of service quality? What does it actually mean?
Well, at its heart, service quality is all about meeting or exceeding customer expectations. It's what determines whether you're satisfied, whether you'll become a loyal customer. But maintaining high service quality can be tough because unlike products, services have some unique characteristics that make quality harder to define, measure, and control.
The chapter highlights a few of those: intangibility, variability, and perishability. What do those actually mean in a practical sense?
For sure. So intangibility means that you can't see, touch, or test a service before you experience it, unlike a physical product.
Right.
So it's harder to judge the quality beforehand. Then there's variability, meaning the quality can vary depending on who's providing the service when and where. Think about different hairdressers at the same salon. You might have totally different experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
And then perishability means that if a service isn't used, it's gone. It's lost revenue.
Right.
You know, an empty seat on a plane, an unbooked hotel room. They can't be stored and sold later. The book uses the example of Disney and their extensive employee training. It's a great example of how they try to manage that variability and ensure a consistently positive experience.
Now, the book makes an important distinction between product quality and service quality. What are the key differences there?
Well, with products, it's generally easier to standardize production, measure quality objectively, and control for defects. You can often point to specific features or specs, but service quality is much more subjective. It's based on your individual perceptions and experiences as a customer, and it needs constant evaluation and management.
Because there's that human element.
Exactly. So why should we care about service quality as customers? What's the bottom line?
Yeah, why does it matter to us?
Because good service quality means greater loyalty, it boosts the provider's reputation, and gives them a competitive edge. When you receive excellent service, you're more likely to trust that company, to come back again, and to recommend them to others. On the flip side, bad service quality can mean lost business, higher costs from dealing with complaints, and damage to the company's image.
Nobody wants that. The chapter talks about different ways of looking at quality, too. Accessibility, features, product perspective, value, user-based perspective. It's a lot.
It is, but it shows that quality isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. Accessibility is all about how easy it is to access the service. Features are the core attributes. A product perspective is about thinking of a service in more tangible terms. Value is about the quality in relation to the price. And the user-based perspective defines quality by how well the service meets your specific needs and expectations.
Okay, and then there are those 5 dimensions of service quality that are always mentioned.
Right.
Tangibles, reliability, responsiveness, assurance, and empathy. Can you give us a quick real-world example of what each one looks like in action?
Sure. Tangibles are those physical aspects of the service environment. Think the cleanliness of a restaurant, the decor, the professional appearance of the staff.
Right.
Reliability is about consistency, the ability to perform the promised service dependably and accurately every time. Like an airline always getting you to your destination on time.
Okay.
Responsiveness is about willingness to help quickly and efficiently. A customer service agent answering your query right away. Assurance is about inspiring trust, maybe through expertise or clear communication. Like a financial advisor who explains complex stuff in a way you understand. And empathy is about personalized care and attention, showing they understand your needs.
Like a concierge who remembers your preferences from a past stay?
Exactly.
So to bring this all together, let's look at the Apple Watch case study in the book.
Okay.
It's a good illustration of a lot of these concepts. So the first question asks about the Apple Watch's impact on organizations, employees, and customers.
Well, for Apple itself, as the developer, it's about constantly innovating and creating new opportunities.
Right.
But the impact goes beyond Apple, too. Healthcare organizations can use its health monitoring features. Employees, especially those in healthcare or customer support, can use it for communication and information access. And for you, the customer, there are tons of benefits. Like the article says, it can help detect health conditions, make payments easier with Apple Pay, and even keep you connected with your family.
Okay. The second question looks ahead, asking how AI-driven health monitoring in wearables might disrupt the service industry.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine your wearable can proactively detect health risks and even offer preliminary diagnoses or suggest preventative measures. It could revolutionize the customer experience with early warnings and personalized health recommendations.
Wow.
And from an operational standpoint, it could lead to much more remote patient monitoring, maybe even change traditional healthcare models by shifting towards more preventative care.
Okay. The third question is about 2 benefits of the Apple Watch as a self-service technology, an SST. What stands out from the case study?
Well, 2 key benefits are the convenience of checking notifications and messages without your phone, and the ability to make contactless payments with Apple Pay.
Okay. And lastly, how might the restaurant industry be affected if more people start using Apple Watches?
Well, if a larger portion of the population uses Apple Watches, it could really streamline the restaurant experience. Mobile ordering and payment becomes super easy. You could browse the menu, order, and pay all from your watch.
Right.
It could increase efficiency for both customers and restaurants, reduce wait times, make everything much smoother.
So it's clear that technology is more than just a tool in services marketing.
Definitely.
It's a driving force that's transforming everything from how organizations operate to how customers experience services.
And it's happening so quickly.
Yeah.
And with all these changes, those basic principles of service quality become even more important.
Right, absolutely. They're key to keeping customers happy and building loyalty.
They are. And it makes you wonder, with AI advancing so rapidly, with our devices becoming ever more connected, how is that balance between human touch and technological efficiency going to evolve? And what does it all mean for society in the long run?
That's a great question. It's something to think about as we navigate this increasingly digital world.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure. It's always good to explore these ideas.
It is. And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Keep those questions coming. We'll see you next time.
See you then.